The sun sets over an empty desert. A man stands alone, weakened by 40 days of fasting. The air grows cold as a voice whispers temptations of power and glory. This isn't the opening of a fantasy novel. It's one of the most dramatic confrontations in biblical history, Jesus facing Satan in the wilderness. Today, we're exploring the remarkable encounters between Jesus and the forces of darkness, encounters that would shape the course of Christian faith. Before we dive in, it's important to understand something crucial. These weren't random skirmishes. Each encounter revealed something profound about Jesus' mission and authority. From the desert to the cross, we see a deliberate unfolding of power that challenged the very foundations of darkness. Let's start at the beginning, the wilderness temptation. After his baptism, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert. Why? This wasn't just a test. It was a direct confrontation with evil at its source. For 40 days, Jesus fasted, deliberately weakening his physical state. Yet in this moment of physical vulnerability, we see extraordinary spiritual strength. The tempter came with 3 sophisticated attacks, each targeting a different aspect of Jesus' identity and mission. First was physical need. Turn these stones into bread. Then came the challenge to spectacle. Throw yourself down from the temple. Finally, an offer of worldly power. All these kingdoms I will give you. But here's what's fascinating. Jesus countered each attack not with displays of power, but with Scripture, showing that truth was more powerful than any supernatural demonstration. As Jesus began his public ministry, we see immediate conflicts with dark forces. In the synagogue at Capernaum, a demon-possessed man cried out, "I know who you are, the Holy One of God." This wasn't just a random outburst. The forces of darkness recognized Jesus' authority before many humans did. With a simple command, Jesus silenced and expelled the unclean spirit, demonstrating an authority that amazed witnesses. But perhaps one of the most dramatic encounters was with the Gadarene demoniac. Here was a man living among tombs, so violent that chains couldn't hold him. The description is haunting. Night and day, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When Jesus approached, the reaction was immediate and terrifying. What happened next reveals something profound about Jesus' authority. The demons begged, not to be sent out of the region. They requested permission to enter a herd of pigs. Think about that. Forces that could break iron chains had to ask permission from Jesus. This wasn't just a display of power, it was a demonstration of absolute authority. But Jesus' authority extended beyond spiritual forces to the natural world. When a furious storm threatened to sink the disciples' boat, Jesus simply spoke, "Peace, be still." The gospel writers note that the wind and waves obeyed him. This wasn't just a nature miracle. It was a demonstration that Jesus' authority extended over all forces of chaos and darkness. Throughout his ministry, Jesus encountered people afflicted by various forms of spiritual oppression. What's remarkable is his consistent approach. Compassion mixed with authority. He never sensationalized these encounters. There were no elaborate rituals, no dramatic incantations, just simple, authoritative commands that demonstrated his absolute power over darkness. Jesus also trained his disciples to exercise this authority. "I have given you authority," he told them, "to overcome all the power of the enemy." But here's something crucial. He warned them not to rejoice in their power over spirits, but rather that their names were written in heaven. This reveals something profound about Jesus' perspective on spiritual warfare. The ultimate victory isn't in dramatic confrontations, but in salvation and redemption. As we approach the climax of Jesus' earthly ministry, the encounters intensify. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus faced what he called the power of darkness. This wasn't just a poetic phrase. It was a recognition that his arrest and crucifixion represented the culmination of dark forces' opposition to God's plan. Yet even in this apparent victory of darkness, we see Jesus' ultimate authority. On the cross, what looked like defeat was actually triumph. The Apostle Paul would later write that Jesus disarmed the powers and authorities, making a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. The resurrection was the final decisive demonstration of Jesus' victory over darkness. Death itself, the ultimate weapon of darkness, could not hold him. This wasn't just a personal victory, it was a cosmic one. The forces that had terrorized humanity since Eden met their match in the risen Christ. What's particularly fascinating is how these encounters reveal a consistent pattern in Jesus dealing with darkness. He never showed fear. He never engaged in lengthy battles. His authority was absolute, immediate, and unquestionable. Yet he wielded this authority not to dominate or destroy, but to restore and redeem. These encounters also reveal something profound about the nature of spiritual conflict. The greatest battles weren't won through dramatic displays of power, but through seemingly weak moments. 40 days of fasting, hours of prayer in Gethsemane, and ultimately death on a cross. This turns our natural understanding of power and victory upside down. For believers today, these accounts offer crucial insights. First, that darkness, while real, is already defeated. Second, that authority over darkness comes through submission to God, not through human power or dramatic rituals. And third, that the ultimate purpose of spiritual victory is not destruction, but restoration. Perhaps most importantly, these encounters show us that Jesus' mission wasn't primarily about fighting darkness. It was about bringing light. Each victory over dark forces served a greater purpose, revealing God's love and restoring human dignity. As we look at these key moments, from the wilderness to the empty tomb, we see more than just supernatural conflicts. We see the unfolding of God's plan to reconcile all things to himself. In Jesus' encounters with darkness, we find hope that light ultimately triumphs, not through force, but through truth, love, and sacrifice. What do you think about these dramatic encounters? How do they shape your understanding of spiritual authority and victory? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into biblical narratives that challenge and inspire us.